Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
Back with you live. Megyn Kelly got a sweet deal. Signed a multi-year deal with SiriusXM. She's going to be on Channel 11. And that's interesting to say the least. Doctor, you want to make a quick comment about that one?
Oh, yeah. We could talk hours about this. Anyway, when I was young, and of course we didn't get a TV until later, but the fact is there were like 3 channels. They broadcast during daylight hours. That was about it. Had a test pattern up. There's so many options out there now, and that's kind of the game you're playing in right now, Sam. You look at what happens with people when they do get broken away from the lame brain mainstream kind of thing. You look at Glenn Beck, you look at Candace Owens, you look at Tucker Carlson. And this is, I think, what's happening, where some of these people have a dynamic message that is not considered in the establishment to be acceptable. And so they kind of,
Talking about Sam Bushman now, buddy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is the game you're playing in. So they're not acceptable to the lame brain mainstream, but there's so many other options out there right now. You look at what Tucker's done with his thing, or you look at what Glenn Beck's done with his thing. Candace Owens is getting a real voice in this kind of stuff.
Oh, no question. Megyn Kelly is now too.
And as they break away from this kind of shoehorned kind of world that they're in, where
they don't tell the truth like we do, but they get a lot closer because they're not hampered. It just shows what kind of the liberal media does to people. It shuts them down.
It truly does, and that's the kind of thing I celebrate, the idea that there are other ways to get your voice out there, and so I think that Megyn's probably going to thrive, as Tucker.
There's no doubt. Yeah,
Ben and those
the rise of Loving Liberty networks, ladies and gentlemen. Keep an eye out because it's happening right before your very eyes. There's a big controversy going on. It's a free speech controversy, Doctor, that I want to bring to your attention. I've got 2 videos I'm going to play. They're going to be one, and then we're going to talk about one. It'll play. Then we'll talk about the other a little bit, and it'll play. But here's the summary before we play videos. The DHS, Department of Homeland Security, they say trolls country singer. They call him a country singer. What's this guy's name? Zach Bryan, over his song. It's an anti-ICE song, writes Jack Crane. And this anti-ICE song is very interesting. Country star Zach Bryan was trolled by the Department of Homeland Security after he stirred controversy, they say, with his new song. The problem is it takes aim at U.S. immigration and enforcement, Doctor. That's the problem with it, okay? And Bryan shared a preview of his new track. It's called Bad News on Instagram last Sunday, featuring lyrics that represent ICE raids and concerns about the direction of the country. Now, they say the post included the caption, "The failing of the red, white, and blue." Or the fading, I'm sorry, not failing. It's fading of the red, white, and blue. And anyway, it goes on and on. But I want you to kind of hear a little bit of the song from Zach Bryan, and then we're going to talk about the government's response, and that's why this is interesting. Here it is.
Didn't wake up, dead or in jail. Some out-of-town boys been giving us hell. I got some bad news. I woke up missing you. My friends are all degenerates, but they're all I got. The generational story of dropping the plot. I heard the cops came, cocky motherfuckers they. And ICE is gonna come bust down your door. Try to build a house, no one builds no more. But I got a telephone. Kids are all scared and all alone. The boss stopped bumping the rock, stop rolling, my middle fingers rising, and I won't stop showing. Got some bad news, the fading of a red, white, and blue.
All right, there you have it. Now, to me, it kind of sounds like that Anthony guy quite a bit. What was his name? North of Richland or whatever that was? Oh, what was his name? Anyway, It just shows you how fame and fortune fade fast, folks. But anyway, it's interesting, in my opinion, what he basically talked about there. I think he has every right to speak out about it, but man, the government didn't like it. And this is where we got to really be careful. This guy was, I guess, a former Marine and stuff like that. He was in the military, and I don't agree exactly with his commentary. He wants to advocate kind of for the illegals, and he says America's fading. The problem is, I agree with half of what he says. America is fading because we're immoral. And he's kind of pointing fingers at the Trump administration, which he has his freedom to do. But the DHS cracked down and spent a bunch of your tax dollars, doctor, on their response. Their response is kind of interesting, in my opinion, because it's, well, let's just watch it and then we'll talk about it. Here is the government response.
Lord, forgive us, my boys and me. We're having an all-night revival. Some call the women and someone steal the Bible. For to save my survival, baptize me in a bottle of bean for Johnny on the vinyl.
All right. So you look at this thing and you kind of go, wait a minute, why is the government doing that? And we're fomenting this divide, doctor, making people famous on either side of the divide as we go. But I don't really see that we need to fight with Zach and try to shut him down and try to, he has every right to his opinions. I'm a little concerned about this, not because I exactly agree with Zach, but because that's where it starts. And now our side's doing what we blamed the left for doing. Doctor, it's super clear the divide's got to stop.
Well, this should be the focus of an hour-long presentation, to be able to help people understand the First Amendment. The First Amendment was created not so that pornography could be exhibited without hindrance. It was to be able to discuss political issues. And the political issues, you know what, if Tiananmen Square, you say, oh, you can, go out there and get run over by a tank. But no, you can actually discuss it openly and bring to light the things that are a problem. If this were happening against your radio program, your audience should rightfully be up in arms. But and I'll just go back to 1774. Opposing voices were encouraged in the American philosophy. George Washington encouraged his neighbor, who was a Tory, to get elected to their legislature, if you will, so that his voice could be heard. And it was a logical, reasonable, intelligent voice that Washington says, we need to hear this, because if we don't, we might be overlooking something.
And this is exactly when I said last hour and when I say this hour, hey, can't we get common sense on bringing back the proper role of government and funding it? Can't we set aside this partisan divide and say, I get a voice, but you don't idea? Can't we just celebrate the genius of America, bring all the voices to the table, and hopefully pray hard and turn to God and come out with the best decision that promotes God, family, and country and benefits society as a whole? And can't we? We can. We should. We need to. And this really points to that very same narrative with this Zach issue. I don't understand why the government wants to spend my tax dollars creating a video to oppose Zach's video.
Well, here's kind of the problem.
The reason they're doing it is because when you're doing evil, when you're doing wrong, you always have to defend yourself, doctor.
Well, that is a true scenario, but here's the deal. The House, it was last spring sometime, passed almost unanimously legislation against speaking anti-Semitic words. And the anti-Semitic words are things that the FBI's backed away now, the ADL and the Southern Poverty Law things. Those guys were defining what you could say and what you couldn't say. And the House tried to pass, that didn't get through the Senate, a program that says if you speak against Israel, in essence, the modern state of Israel, you're anti-Semitic. And this is
I'm not anti-Semitic, and I'm going to tell you when Israel's wrong, they're wrong, and when they're right, and I will call it as such.
Absolutely. But the problem is that is what freedom of speech, freedom of the press is, this idea that you can chill this kind of speech because it's not popular. Right now, this anti-ICE song that you just played is not popular with the Trumpsters. But if it were under the Biden thing and they were chilling speech against illegal immigration, we should rightfully be working everything
Critical.
we could to stop it from happening.
Of
But
course.
what's happening is there's tried to be a controlled narrative based upon who controls the government. The government should be controlled by the United States Constitution. United States Constitution. This guy has every right to sing about what he wants. I
Hang
mean,
tight.
and they're responding wrongly with this right now, and it is a chilling effect.
All right, back with you live, ladies and gentlemen. Sam Bushman, Dr. Scott Bradley. This is another interesting twist. I don't know what kind of events the White House should host, Doctor, but I kind of find this one very strange. President Trump wants to be in the news for everything, everywhere, all the time. And I think, a real humble leader, it's fine to be in the news when it's necessary, but you don't need to be in the news all the time, I wouldn't think. But check out this soundbite from President Trump, then we'll talk about it.
And on June 14th, next year, we're going to have a big UFC fight at the White House, right at the White House, on the grounds of the White House.
I don't know what to say about this, Doctor. Do we want UFC fights at the White House, man? Is that like the dignified thing that we ought to be doing at the White House? I don't think so, Doctor.
George Washington set the standard, if you will, for the presidential demeanor. And he was elegant. He was eloquent. He was humble. He was no tyrant at any time. And I am kind of sick to death about I don't know what you'd call it, the hucksterism that happens so often right now in politics. It isn't just Trump, but he seems to have mastered it. But everybody's up there on stage playing it out constantly, and it's really disheartening to me to think that we fall to the levels that we do. I mean, we used to be. I mean, there was a high, kind of elegant and eloquent and kind of a godly banner that was flying over this nation, and nowadays I don't know why we have to be wrestling with the pigs in the mud. I think the UFC thing might come to that, but it's like bread and circuses. The Roman Colosseums. We're going to entertain the masses and keep them distracted, and while we take the nation into tyranny, and I'm really saddened by it. So I don't know. Do we know who the performers will be? And they are performers when the time comes.
No, I don't know. I don't know the details of that yet. I just know this, and here's the saddest part about this thing. I don't really want the president promoting fights at the White House. They say it'll be on the south lawn of the White House and all this kind of stuff. But he announced this. It wasn't last Sunday. This is a story that's a little bit old. I'd have to look up exactly when. But he did this on Sunday. He revealed a new detail about the basically the height of fight or whatever that's supposed to take place on the south lawn of the White House or whatever. I'm just going, they say it'll occur on June 14th. That's 2026, by the way, which is, by the way, also Trump's 80th birthday. So he wants a fight for his birthday, Doctor. And he runs around and he tells people, I don't like my enemy. I hate them. And I just go, Trump, I hate my opponent. And I don't want the best for them. I just can't imagine that. And then a fight at the White House. Then it's like, we're supposed to be the guys kind of ratcheting it down, dialing it back, promoting peace. And I just have to call it out, Doctor. I just do.
It's deeply saddening. I mean, to see how we're wrestling with pigs or whatever, I mean, so isn't June 14th Flag Day? I mean, am I wrong?
I think so. I think you're right.
I don't know.
So there you go. Just wave the flag for the fight, Doctor.
That June 14th is Flag Day.
Crazy, man. I don't know what's going on around here.
I mean, here we are. We're waving the flag for a performance of, I don't know what the heck you'd call it. Anyway, yeah, we've fallen far. And bread and circuses is becoming our, our general fare in America today. I'm sorry to say.
Anyway, excuse me. Very, very interesting is all I can say. It's a sad detail, and I hope I can prevail on the president. And this is why I bring it up. I'm not here just to oppose him, just to argue with him, just to call him a bad guy. I don't mean to do that, folks. I want to be very civil and kind, but at the same time, announcing that on the Sabbath, I just don't think the Lord would be pleased. I know fights aren't kill, but thou shalt not kill. You know, if you kind of look at the New Testament idea of thou shalt not kill, it's like, hey, if somebody smacks you, you don't smack them back, you turn the other cheek. And I'm not saying we need to be wimps, but I am saying let's not use the Sabbath to promote the fight, right? Let's but he's celebrating it like it's an awesome thing. All right, by the way, in Los Angeles, California now, the Pacific Palisades fire, you remember that, Doctor?
I do indeed.
Well, turns out that, they went running around telling you it was climate change that caused it and everything else. And now it turns out that, oh no, there's an arsonist, Jonathan, how do you say this guy's name? Reinderneck? I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to call him Jonathan R, okay? This guy literally started the fire and they caught him. They arrested him and everything else. And so now all the networks that were lying about climate change and everything else, they went with their narrative like they always do. The fires literally resulted in 23,000 acres being burned, the destruction of more than 6,000 structures, and 12 fatalities in this thing. Initially, several media outlets, the Associated Press, CNN, the New York Times, NPR, mayors, everybody else, they said, hey, this is all a climate change deal. Even NBC News, basically, I guess they have findings, what are called from the Weather World Attribution Group. I've never heard of them, but anyway, stated the fires were 35% more likely because of climate change or an arson. They didn't say that part out loud, but doctor, what on earth is happening? We catch them at it every time, but the narrative never changes.
Well, absolutely, and there's not going to be a retraction. I can guarantee you that.
There needs to be, doctor.
Well,
it's absolutely propaganda they peddled, and they lied, and it's not true. This arson, this criminal, has nothing to do whatsoever, without equivocation, climate change. Nothing. And these clowns peddle this porn, and the people get deceived, and it's got to stop. Tell the truth. You know what? If you want me to drink out of a paper straw because you believe that it's better for the turtles, I'm not here to mock you. I'm here to say I just politely disagree. Now, if we got a plastic problem in America or the world, let's try to create a race, right? A scientific race. Let's get big philanthropists to put some money on the bulkhead to help, funding, private sector funding. Let's double down and find a way to solve the world's problems. Bright minds backed by AI, and we can all do this stuff, folks. Let's not just argue and fight and hate one another. Let's find a solution, baby.
Well,
am I crazy?
No, you're not. But here's the deal. Even this particular story needs to be dialed back, I think. I mean, it's an allegation at this point. There is not a conviction. It will be vigorously defended, and I can assure you that there's enough space in this for hearing some vigorous defense. But here's the point: is Walter Cronkite used to end his news, back in the 60s, and that's the way it is. October 10th, 2025. He never used that date because he's dead. But the point of the matter is, he stated it as definitively as possible that that's the way it is. And that mentality seems to be there still for some of these casters. I don't want to call them news even.
Yeah, no, you're right. We need to dial it back. And we have alleged in our headline, it's an alleged arsonist, this guy. But all I'm saying is to go off on climate change when they don't know. And even if this guy didn't do it, that doesn't mean climate change did do it. So my point isn't really whether this guy should be convicted or not. Let the courts decide that per the law. Let them bring the evidence. Let him have a fair, honest, open trial, a jury of his peers. Let him have the ability to get due process, 100% on every bit of that. My whole point, though, is no matter whether he did it or not isn't even relevant to the fact that, hey, this lie about climate change narrative got spun up, and they don't know either. And they don't have any proof or any evidence or anything else, without evidence, without proof, they just made the claim. And it's very likely that they're wrong. And even if this guy didn't do it, maybe somebody else did it. They don't even know. But to jump to climate change is an agenda-driven lie. And that's what I'm doubling down on, Doctor.
Well, but the problem, yeah, you're absolutely correct, and that's the way it should be handled. But I'm telling you, there's a fire ready aim kind of approach to things
Without
nowadays,
question.
where we find that if it's announced in the news, it is the gospel truth, and more often than not, I mean, in fact, I can't hardly think of a major event in my lifetime that hasn't been a lie that was promoted by the lame brain mainstream kind of world, the establishment, if you will. So it's one of those things that we've got to stop hyperventilating every time they come out with something. That's how riots happen. That's how people get killed on the streets. That's how governments are overthrown even. There's a deliberative process that needs to happen. And by the way, the deliberative process almost never does. I mean, you look at the deliberative thing about going to war, for example. No, hyperventilate. Let's beat the war drums. Trump goes off and bombs Iran. Bomb Iran, as McCain used to say. And the fact of the matter is that we get kind of the bum's rush, if you will. It's probably a term that almost nobody's ever heard anymore, where we get kind of shoehorned into something that is just emotion, nothing else.
You're right about that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Elon Musk's company, I got to tell you about that, and then we'll get to the webinar. Hang tight. This is crazy. Elon Musk, he's been in the news for a lot of positive reasons over the last couple of years. Now I just don't know what on earth he's thinking. You got it? We'll talk about it. I'm Sam Bushman. Liberty Roundtable Live, syndicated by the Loving Liberty Networks. We got some other shows we're going to be launching soon, too. Check it out. Keep an eye on lovingliberty.net, will you please? Hang tight. All right, back with you live, Doctor. I've got to just chastise a little bit Elon Musk. Shame on you, Elon. You should know better, my friend. Elon Musk's company, XAI, has now introduced 2 sexually explicit chatbot companions. One of them is named Annie. The other one's named Valentine. He did this in July. Nobody kind of caught it because it's like tech news. But these anime-style chatbots provide a game-like experience, ladies and gentlemen, where users unlock more explicit content the more they talk. So they get points. You know, you up the sex component rally or whatever, and you get points, you get rewarded, and so it feeds on this thing. And Elon Musk is literally doubling down, supporting all this, saying this is going to be great for your relationships. You learn whatever, and all these different things. And you go, this guy's off his rock. Now, other companies have shied away from this that are in the big AI spaces. But XAI, for example, faces now regulatory challenges with U.S. state attorneys general urging tech companies to protect minors from erotic AI content. So, you know, Elon Musk is already kind of getting some regulatory scrutiny on this, rightly and wisely so. I know that you libertarians think I'm crazy. I agree you can't legislate all morality, but you can certainly support, morality. You can certainly have laws that highlight what's right and what's moral and good in society. Anyway, the chatbots are designed to form emotional bonds with users, rewarding long and engaging conversations with points. So you get dirty talking points the more you go, Doctor. And Elon's promoting this, and I'm saying shame on Mr. Musk.
You know, we mentioned this a little bit earlier, and it wasn't in any great detail, but the First Amendment has nothing whatsoever to do with the promotion and promulgation of pornography or any sort of anything related to that. And that's part of the problem with Elon Musk, is Elon Musk's depth and breadth of understanding of the original intent of the founding fathers. Sometimes, you know, he says, yeah, free speech, we ought to have it so that you're not being censored when you're talking against the COVID con, you know, because it is a political issue and it is something that has to do with liberty and all that kind of stuff.
But it shouldn't be a political, it should be a health issue.
Well, true, but the fact of the matter is, if tyranny is being implemented, that's what the First Amendment was about, to speak out
Amen.
and
You're
prevent
right.
that. But if it's being used to promote the destruction of a nation, now, by the way, the founding fathers understood and talked about this kind of stuff, about the bringing to public awareness things that are lewd, crude, that are perhaps well, I'm trying to think of good words to talk about on the radio, but the fact of the matter is, they said if those kinds of things are brought into the public eye, it's the purpose of government and laws to prevent that from happening. You can go back to the first volume of Blackstone's commentaries on the law, where he talks about the fact that this is not something that just has to be let run amok. And when things do come out in the public, it is the place of law to prevent that. Now, if a guy, spends his whole life as a drunkard in his own home and it's not out in the open, the laws can't do anything about that. But if he's out in the open with his,
But good, kind Christians could minister to him and love him and befriend him and support him and help him the best they can. They're free to do that, my friend, and
but
they
it's
ought
not
to
the
be doing
law.
that.
It's not the
That's right.
law's
That's
purpose
right.
to do that.
100%. And that's
But
why
when
when I say that, I'm providing the solution. We don't need to make it a law. We just need good Christians to take the 2 great commandments and make them serious in their lives and realize when they got baptized, they made a covenant to be a disciple of Christ and advocate for that. And so you can do that out of the kindness of your heart. You don't need a law. So anyway, I'm pointing out when the wrong way it's done, when we reject that, I'm saying this is the way we need to go. That's why I'm bringing that up, Doctor.
well,
People got to know what their job is, man. Come on.
yeah, government has a place, and it's to prevent this destruction of society. And so there's morality issues that are involved in that, and the founders understood that clearly. And again, the First Amendment was not to promote lewd dancing or pornography of any kind, sort, nature. It was there to promote the idea that we could bring to light the things that were threatening our liberty and proper government, and that's what it was
You're right.
about.
I agree
So
100%. Now, the last tidbit on this Musk story, they say the chatbots are designed to form emotional bonds between users and the bot. They say both characters are gender neutral. So now you got gender neutral sex bots promoted by, funded by, advocated for Elon Musk. I'm just saying, wow, folks, we've gone to a new level. And, this guy gets a lot of money from government, and every project he does, there's government funding and involvement, Doctor. I think Trump should take a look at that and say, you know what? We're just not going to, your money's not being used for that. Your money's being used for the development of electricity and batteries capabilities and electric vehicles and possible alternative energy and transportation sources. That's what Elon Musk does. He, rocket launcher guy and he has all that, but it's all government partnered with and funded. It's fascism kind of stuff. And then on top of that, now he's using that money now to double down and promote porn bots. At some point, we got to be wise, Doctor, and stand up and say, this is the wolf at the door, my friend.
You market things using sex as the carrier, if you will, and it's a very successful marketing plan, but it's not the appropriate right way to do it. I mean, drugs, sex, and rock and roll. I mean, you stop and think about this. Oh, we've got a drug problem in the nation. Well, it's immorally based, and same with things that are using sex as the marketing tool, and it's really gotten out of hand. And again, it violates the First Amendment, and we
Other
just
than
need
that,
to
it's not
understand
so bad,
better.
huh?
Not so bad, I guess you're right.
All right. So you had the webinar, Doctor, and I know some of the things we covered. How many of the things in the show did we cover that were webinar-esque, if you will?
Well, let me see. Let me get these things out here. We've got, here's one that wasn't covered, and we don't have to spend any time on it.
No, I'm saying, did I get any of them?
Well, yeah, we did. We got the government shutdown and some of those things.
Yeah, okay.
We
I just want to make sure we're getting to it,
We didn't get the rock and roll song or anything like that, but one of the things
Come on now,
was,
I played the song.
I know you did. It wasn't on the show though.
Wait a minute.
Elon Musk
We put this guy, Zach guy's song on there, man. Come on.
I know it just wasn't in the webinar.
Oh
So
yeah.
anyway,
Well, you guys are behind. It's okay. We love you
I
anyway.
know I'm behind the curve. We just take them as they come.
I'm just teasing. Okay, what do we got?
Well, this was pretty much unrelated, only the fact that it's Elon Musk centered and his satellites falling out of the sky and how frequently they are and the issues behind that. And, we could spend a lot of time on that. In a previous life, I had some involvement with satellites and stuff falling out of the sky. That was one of the things. I'll just give you a rundown here. We had the peace plan proposal and where it's going. We've done a little bit of that in our discussion. Here's one that was I think inflammatory almost for some people because Charlie Kirk was apparently having reservations about his previous unwavering support of Israel, the modern state of
Oh yeah,
Israel.
we talked about that quite a bit, and it's a big concern. They released emails showing these private conversations. I've got video clips of him saying, "I got to be careful how I say this." He was basically realizing that he'd been hoodwinked on Israel,
Yep.
and I'm grateful that he woke up. It's a real conversation that needs to happen. And, I disagreed with Charlie on Israel, but hey, we can agree to disagree. I'm grateful that he was waking up, and I wish he isn't dead. I wish he could continue to stand and be a great truth teller that, you know what? I'm not here to attack Israel, people. I'm not. But I am here to say, don't think Israel is the Holy Grail because it isn't true.
Well, and then this is related, seeking the truth in the Charlie Kirk murder. This is a related one also.
And I'm going to give you, hold on, I'm going to give you a 30-second answer on that one. I agree 100%, but I'm telling you, you will not get the truth on what happened to Charlie Kirk. You've got the government narrative, which we believe is completely false. And then we've got basically 4 or so theories now that are competing for attention. Every one of them has holes in them, though. And so the problem is we're blaming innocent people. Phil Lyman's getting kind of a rake over the coals discussion. You've got the Maxfield plane that's getting raked over the coals. I know these people, folks, and I'm telling you, those guys aren't involved. I'm just convinced. We've got to be careful that we don't cast such a big net or play the blame game like we know when we don't. And we got to be really cautious. But I don't believe, unless we get the whole autopsy, and even if we got that, it'd be hard, and all the footage, I don't know that we could put the crime scene together and get a real solid evidence-based perpetrator. Because I think that when you put high government actors involved or something like that, high-level people involved that are that good, you'll never finger them. Even if you get all the dots connected, I believe they're too good at this point, and they're too good at manipulating details. When we get back, let's have Dr. Bradley respond to all I'm saying here, because I think there's a lot of components worthy of our discussions. You're watching and listening to Liberty Roundtable Live. Dr. Bradley, you're missing your cue. Welcome to the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Sometimes somebody probably needs to point and say you're on. Anyway, no, quick. I'm not quick to take up things. Anyway, this thing with the Charlie Kirk death, I do not believe for a nanosecond that we are getting the truth from the official.
And I agree with that 1,000%.
I don't believe that that anything, not one thing in it, can be brought to closure and chased to ground.
I've got one that can be brought to closure. He's dead.
The fact that fact is probably unassailable.
Other than that, you're right.
No, the weapon that was used, the location it was fired from, the fact that autopsies, deflections of 30-06 rounds at less than 200 yards off of a vertebrae that goes 90 degree. Every single step of the way there has not been. And they want a little neat package wrapped up with a nice little bow on it.
Of course they do. That's why they already paved over. That's why they're telling, Utah or whatever you want to say, Orem, Utah, the college, hey, move along, kind of thing. It won't quit. But again, we don't have any hard evidence. They're not going to give us the components to build the real narrative, the real timeline, because they've intentionally muddied all that already. This was poisoned from the beginning to lead everybody in 96 directions. Every time we wake up, there's more directions to pursue in this thing. That is not by accident, Doctor.
Well, it's kind of like Yeah, a very real example is what happened at the Trade Center when the towers came down. It was a crime scene, and they cleared that away so fast it made your head spin. You couldn't go in and verify that cutting charges were used to cut the supporting beams and structure of the towers because they moved them away too quickly. And this is exactly what's happened. I mean, every step of the way, it's been a facade. The text messages that they supposedly received that were written just this side of Elizabethan English, kids don't text that way. I mean, there's this signed confession, if you will, from text messages. I mean, it's a Lee Harvey Oswald.
Well, and then
We
you've
talk,
got the scenario where the family at first was said they were cooperating. Now they're starting to wonder what's going on. You've got all kind of things. Where, for example, is the roommate? All these people have been swept up into some kind of a protection program to make sure nobody can talk to them. I mean, we go on and on with what's happening here. And the problem is I just can't swallow the current narrative. The problem is I don't know what the narrative is, doctor. And the problem is I know
well,
he's dead. And the problem is I know that everywhere there's intentional misdirection. It's going to be almost impossible to get the answers. What are the answers to the Charlie Kirk death? Is it to prove who did it? What if we prove it? What if we prove that so-and-so did it? Now what? And so
well,
you say, well, who killed JFK? And we're going to prove that. And if not, okay, it's that kind of discussion, is it not?
well, it is, but it's been 62 years, and we don't have a good answer for the
And you're not going to
JFK
get
thing.
one.
And the problem is that the Charlie Kirk thing, look, it stinks to high heaven. The official
There's no
narrative,
question.
the only thing that hasn't happened yet is a Lee Harvey Oswald, Jack Ruby interaction. I mean, and the fact is that I think they're trying to make this open and shut to the point that they say we're going to go for the death penalty. Oh, if you will plead, we will just go for a life imprisonment, and it'll never be aired in an open courtroom.
That's right. They don't want it aired in the courtroom because what if something comes up, doctor? See, that's my point is that whenever investigations lead to broader avenues, not narrower, over time, you know that they're intentionally being tampered with. Investigations
Absolutely.
eventually narrow the scope, narrow the scope, narrow the scope because facts become established and double checks and triple checks and quadruple checks on facts and details. And then one fact, supports another fact. And okay, that's why investigations get narrower as you get closer to the truth. They don't get broader. And I'm telling you right now, every day it gets broader. Candace Owens finds new video footage. Phil Lyman says something. Someone else does this. Kash Patel makes this point. Something, and every time it expands. Now, I'm not saying everybody's involved by any means. I'm just saying that's not the mark of getting to the bottom of something. I'm telling you. So I hope Elon Musk can get with funding every one of us to continue telling the truth on this instead of funding his porn. Let's put your money into things that are of, in my opinion, great necessary value. But at the end of the day, what was the end of the day on it then? Did everybody walk away after the 20 minutes or whatever on this Israel topic? Everybody kind of felt like they were singing Kumbaya, or what do you think, doctor?
No, I think that the understanding was increased to the level that people are saying we aren't getting the truth. And I think that's the important thing right now. And the fact is, if state actors were involved, and if there were deeper involvement by high-level establishment organizations and everything else like that, I mean, with the John F. Kennedy thing, I mean, I think that it's pretty well the smoking gun, if you will, of CIA, mafia, LBJ. I mean, it wasn't a lone wolf that did it. And the fact of the matter is, I wish that had been exposed 62 years ago. It wasn't because of the facade that the establishment put out. It would be nice to know if there were state actors today and be able to say, wait,
Yes, it
wait,
would.
wait. And so,
And I certainly support the investigations. Don't misunderstand me. And I absolutely support anybody who can bring any evidence forward. And I hope we can prevail on. I mean, I endorse Kash Patel. I'm really hoping Kash is investigating it like he says he is. He's keeping his mouth shut because he doesn't want his investigation to be tainted. He's not willing to pop off at the mouth. But at the end of the day, I hope something really comes of this. What my fear is that we're going to, move along and then nothing ever will come of it. And it's up to we, the people, to make sure that doesn't happen. I agree with that 1,000%. I'm just kind of telling you from a personal opinion, you're not going to get to the bottom of this case because they don't want you to. So there you have it.
It's a cover-up.
And so where we go with that, I don't know. All right. Anything else before the end of the hour on the webinar?
We talked at length about the discharge petition and why that was such a big deal. We talked about the government shutdown and what had happened in previous times and who had the record and what the outcome had been. We've spent a little bit of time on this. This idea of the U.S. giving a green light
Do you
to
applaud the
Ukraine.
government shutdown?
Well, sure, but the fact of the matter is it's being played as a charade at every level, and it's not going to accomplish the things that it ought to accomplish. It's a tragic travesty, and
No
and
question.
everybody's playing their role as if they were in a play. It's not.
I hope my role is not in a play. I hope my role is solutions oriented, and I'm providing a clear path as a leader for people to follow and say, hey, the answer to the problems are God, family, and country. On the country level, the answer is to choose the Constitution as the political religion of your nation, if you will, and kind of say, hey, you know what, we're gonna live by this religiously. That's kind of the point. It's not really to say it needs to be religion. We're just saying, hey, we need to make this, it is the supreme law, and we need to make sure it remains that way. And if it's far from that, which in many cases it is, let's come on back, baby. Let's bring the real to the ideal, and let's do it now. So that's kind of my response, Doctor.
Well, the final question that came up is one we should have spent the entire 2 hours on because it is of such moment. And I
Here's
know
what
we
I'd like to do. I'd like to give Dr. Bradley a 24/7 channel and see if he can just do it.
Well, I'm telling you, we could talk the hind leg off a dog, but this one's World War III importance.
All right, well, you got like 3 minutes for World War III, buddy.
Okay, it sounds like, based upon what General Kellogg, the special envoy to the Ukraine, is doing, that we're going to give Ukraine green light to use long-range missiles against Russia, which Putin has said would be an act of war, and we need to consider the consequences. He has not said he will declare war, but he says it is an act of war, that we need to consider the consequences. And because Trump has ticked off, it sounds like, at Putin for not taking the bait on whatever they put out there, he's going to probably give them maybe some Tomahawk missiles, 1,500-mile ranges. And these are got made in USA all over them. And if we're going to deploy them to Ukraine, probably through NATO, who knows, and Russia can be on the receiving end of those, Russia has already said, you guys need to consider the potential consequences. There may be hypersonic missiles going into Berlin. There may be into Paris. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is that this is very serious. And for Trump to do this because he's ticked off at Putin is a really stupid thing. It's not our dog. It's not our fight. And it's entangling alliances. And this is of huge consequence, and nobody's talking about it. It's a very serious.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday. And, you know, my question is, why do we even need to be involved in all this?
That's good.
Why don't we talk about
buddy.
America? Why don't we talk about the land of the free? Why don't we talk about the 250th year anniversary of America coming up? Why don't we talk about the supreme law of our land and how this could be the greatest export to other nations the world's ever known? And we can provide solutions everywhere, and we'll spend our time getting the government open, but carrying out the Constitution. I mean, we got a lot of work to do, buddy. We don't have time for this garbage. Come on.
That's right. And usually, as I say, generally, presidents tend to get in trouble in their second administration with international affairs. This is Trump's second administration. He's dinking around all over the world with everything. They say, oh, he's going to bring peace to the Gaza and Ukraine and whatever's going to get resolved. It's not his monkey. It's not on his job description. Go read Article 2 of the Constitution again. There is nothing whatsoever in there with this international dinking around with things. And again,
yeah, but if he can get a Nobel Peace Prize and a coin named after him, but he
didn't
can be
work
on both sides of the coin, he could just be a rock star, man. Come on.
Well, it didn't work. So we'll see what happens.
It didn't work, and it doesn't work, right? We got to think about the future too. It doesn't work, folks. So, you know, the past is a prelude to the present. History repeats itself. Go look at history, study it. That's who we are, what we want you to do. And that is Dr. Bradley's point when he wants to talk about these issues in great detail. He's right as rain. I'm just telling you, in radio and TV, you can do that, but you only get one or two topics. And I can only tell a couple of stories instead of tell you a bunch of stories. Hopefully you understand that what I'm telling you is the truth, though. They're not stories of fiction. They're, you know, it's true stuff, you know? And that's really important for us as Americans to stand up for our country. It is about God, family, and country. For Dr. Bradley and yours truly, God save our republic.